I used to believe that silence was safety, not comfort, not peace, safety. Quiet meant no one noticed me, no one judged me, no one could ruin anything that mattered. I perfected the art of staying small, sliding through hallways at school like a ghost, drifting around conversations without ever landing inside one. If you asked anyone about Elena Carter, they'd probably squint and say, "Who?" I told myself that was a blessing. But somewhere inside my chest, something restless pressed against the walls, like a bird trapped behind glass, begging to feel wind again. That morning, the one that would flip my life inside out, began like any other. Gray Seattle skies, a dull ache behind my eyes from studying too late, my hair doing whatever it wanted because gravity was a suggestion, not a rule. I shoved my camera into my backpack. It wasn't fancy. A hand-me-down Nikon my cousin gave up on because phones do it better now. But it was the only thing that made me feel something, like maybe I could freeze the world long enough to understand it. When I stepped outside, rain misted the neighborhood, soft as breath. The street lamps flickered out, surrendering to the pale morning light. I tucked my chin into my scarf and walked faster, not because I was late. I was always early. But because if I slowed down, the thoughts caught up. Thoughts like, what if I'm invisible because I let myself be? What if there's more for me than hiding? I pushed them away. Again, school hallways buzzed with voices and footsteps. I fit into the noise the way a missing puzzle piece fits. Not at all. I kept my eyes down, weaving through the river of people, until someone stepped directly into my path. "Hey," she said. Bright blue eyes and freckles like sunspots. I recognized her. Amanda Prescott, art club president. Human thunderbolt. The kind of girl who could sneeze and somehow make it look stylish. "You're Elena, right?" she asked, tapping a finger against her chin like she was searching a mental file. I blinked. Yeah. "I've seen your photography on the shared drive," she said, smiling like she'd just discovered treasure. "You have an eye. Ever thought about joining us?" My lungs forgot how to work. She knew my name? She'd seen my photos? Words scrambled into nonsense. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I'm not great, she said, as if I'd already agreed. "Clubroom after school. We have donuts. Bad ones, but still donuts." And just like that, she was gone. Swallowed by the hallway chaos, leaving me stunned in place. All day, my mind replayed that tiny moment on a loop. She liked my photos. She invited me. A door had cracked open. But fear was a louder storyteller. What if they laugh? What if they regret inviting me? What if I ruin it for myself, like always? By the time the final bell rang, I'd convinced myself not to go. I hugged the camera in my bag like a secret and slipped out a side door, choosing the familiar cold of alone over the terrifying warmth of possibility. I cut through the empty football field, damp grass painting my sneakers dark green. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled like wet, pavement and second chances. That's when I felt it. A strange pull, a whisper of motion above me. Instinct lifted my eyes to the sky. Clouds, churned like a pot beginning to boil. Not storm clouds, but streaks of shimmering silver weaving through the gray. They twisted, coiling into a shape that didn't make sense. For a heartbeat, I saw something impossible. A flicker of light that looked like wings. Huge wings. My breath hitched. I blinked hard. The sky settled again. Ordinary, dull, rain-washed. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was sleep-deprived. Maybe I was finally losing my mind. But my hand moved on its own, grabbing the camera, lifting it, snapping a photo of the spot where the light had been. Even though it was gone, the need to capture the moment pulsed through me like electricity. The shutter clicked once, then again, and on the third click, a sound tore through the sky, a low, echoing hum, but layered with something else, something strange and unearthly, almost like a voice, stretched and distorted by distance. My heart slammed against my ribs. Every hair on my arms stood up. I looked around, but the field was empty. The world was holding its breath. The hum warbled, deepened into a pulse that vibrated the ground beneath my feet, then stopped. Silence. The real kind. The unsettling kind. The kind that feels like a warning. I lowered the camera, every nerve wired with instinct I didn't understand. And then, the camera beeped 3 times. Error message flashing red. Data corrupted. Image unviewable. Chill crawled up the back of my neck. Okay, I whispered, trying to steady my voice. Weird. Very weird. I headed home fast. The kind of fast that pretends you're not running from something. Inside my room, I locked the door. The house creaked as if it had secrets to tell. My fingers shook as I connected the camera to my laptop. I held my breath as the photos loaded. There were only 2, not 3. Both were wrong. The first image was smeared with static, streaks of violet and white like someone painted, electricity itself. The second, my stomach dropped. It showed the football field, the bleachers, the goalpost, and right above the ground, maybe 10 feet high, a figure suspended in midair, outlined in silver, almost human, except for the wings like fractured moonlight, and it was looking at me. I slapped the laptop shut. My pulse hammered. My thoughts scrambled. I paced my tiny room like a trapped animal. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. This wasn't... A soft tap hit my window. I froze. Another tap. Gentle, insistent, slowly. I pulled back the curtain. Outside, on the other side of the glass, a feather rested against the pane. Thin, metallic, glowing faintly, the same impossible silver as the sky. I stumbled backward, breath crashing out of me. The feather pulsed once, like it had a heartbeat, and the silence I had clung to for so long finally broke. A single thought shattered the walls inside me. I am not invisible. I am seen, and whatever saw me is coming. The feather didn't move. It didn't evaporate into a dream. It didn't disappear when I blinked hard enough to bruise my eyelids. It stayed, there glowing, waiting, couldn't decide if I should scream or poke it. My heart pounded, so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear it. I sucked in a shaky breath and reached for my phone. Not to call anyone, because who would I even call? Hi, Mom, Dad. There's a glowing angel feather trying to introduce itself through my bedroom window. Yeah, no. Instead, I opened the camera app and snapped a picture through the glass. The screen showed nothing. Just my window. Just normal. Just a perfectly boring slice of reality. I lowered my phone, and the feather pulsed again, brighter, as if responding to my disbelief. Okay. So reality and I were no longer on speaking terms. Very slowly, I unlatched the window and lifted it a few inches. Cold air rushed in, bringing the smell of wet concrete and cedar trees. The feather drifted forward, weightless, crossing the invisible boundary between the ordinary world and my room. When it touched my floor, the glow faded. Just a feather now, beautiful, metallic, but no longer alien, like it had used up all its magic getting here. I stared at it, wishing I were someone braver, someone who didn't freeze up when life turned cinematic. But I wasn't that girl. Not yet. I crouched down. What are you? I whispered, feeling ridiculous. My fingers hovered above it. I hesitated. And then, because curiosity has teeth, I picked it up. A jolt shot through my arm. Not painful, but powerful, like touching music. Images flashed in my mind. Quick, blinding, sky burning silver, hands reaching out. A voice like thunder speaking a name. Elena. My name. I gasped and dropped the feather. It clinked softly, like metal on wood. I stumbled back, tripping over my backpack and landing hard on the floor. The room spun for a second before everything slammed back into focus. This was real. Too real. Before I could convince myself I hadn't imagined any of it, footsteps sounded in the hallway. "Elena?" Dad's voice. "You okay?" I scrambled to shove the feather under my pillow. "Yeah, just dropped a book." The doorknob twisted, then stopped. He always waited, a rule in our house. I wasn't sure if it was respect or distance, but either way, I was grateful. "Dinner in 10, he said. "Got it." His footsteps faded. I pressed a hand over my racing pulse. I should tell him. I should show someone. But the feather pulsed with heat beneath the pillow, as if answering the thought. Not yet. I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak of the house felt like a footstep. Every rustle of wind against the siding sounded like wings. When morning finally came, I felt like someone who'd been awake for a century. I dragged myself through getting ready, avoiding the pillow entirely. The feather weighed on my mind like a secret itching to burst open. School was noisy as always. Crowds, laughter, slamming lockers. But now I walked differently. My eyes weren't stuck on the floor anymore. They kept scanning the ceiling, the sky, the shadows. Amanda found me before first period. "You didn't show yesterday," she said, crossing her arms with exaggerated disappointment. "The donuts were offended." I winced. "Sorry, something came up." Her eyes narrowed. Curious, not angry. "Well, we meet again today. You're coming. No excuses." Before I could argue, she hooked her pinky with mine. A ridiculous, childish gesture that somehow anchored me to this world. "Promise," she said. And I found myself nodding. Promise. Her grin could have powered the entire school. The day crawled until finally, dismissal. I almost talked myself out of the promise. But Amanda waited at my locker like a bouncer guarding a VIP list I had somehow landed on. "No escape," she declared. We walked to the art room together. My stomach twisted, fear and excitement tangled into one messy emotion. It felt kind of incredible. Inside, the art club was small but vibrant. Paint-splattered tables, canvases drying on every surface, fairy lights strung like constellations. People laughed, argued about color palettes, and passed around the world's saddest donuts. Amanda introduced me. "This is Elena, the mysterious shutter ghost I told you." About. Mysterious. Ghost. Right. Now those words hit too close to home. But no one laughed. No one questioned why I was there. A boy with curly hair pushed a donut toward me. "Welcome to chaos," he said, smiling like this was the most normal day in history. For a moment, I almost believed it was. Until the windows rattled. Everyone turned. Rain streaked the glass in odd patterns. Too rhythmic. Too deliberate. The lights flickered once, twice. Then a sound. Low. Vibrating. Like a distant engine or a heartbeat. Amplified through the walls. My chest tightened. It was the same hum from the field. My body reacted before my brain did. Grabbing my camera, stepping away from the group, eyes locked on the sky outside. Something moved behind the clouds, a shadow. Large, slow. The hum deepened. Amanda stepped beside me. "What's wrong?" "Do you hear that?" I asked. She shook her head. "Hear what?" "Great. Only me again." The hum built into a pulse, sharp enough to make my teeth ache. Then it stopped. Everyone exhaled. Amanda squeezed my arm, concern sharpening her features. "You look like you're going to pass out. Do you want some water?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the world exploded in light. A flash, silver, violent, burst across the windows. Glass spiderwebbed but didn't break. The clubroom filled with gasps and panic. Through the cracked panes, I saw a figure descending. Silver wings folding against a human silhouette. Falling. No, landing. Right outside. Amanda grabbed my wrist, panicked. Elena, what is that? I didn't have words. All I knew was this. Whatever had found me yesterday, it had found me again. And this time, it wasn't hiding in the sky. It was here. The room went quiet the way a heartbeat goes quiet between beats. Charged. Waiting. Outside the cracked windows, the figure straightened. Silver wings folded in like shutters, every edge catching rain and throwing it back as 1,000 bright needles. The courtyard's maples tossed their wet leaves as if bowing. Someone whispered, "Is it a drone?" Another voice, "No way that's a drone." Everyone away from the windows. Mr. Klein, our art teacher, lifted his hands the way people lift their hands to calm bees. He was trying for gentle. It came out shaky. Inside wall. Now. Chairs scraped. A canvas fell, face first, into a smear of cobalt. Amanda didn't move. Her grip on my wrist tightened. "Elena," she breathed. "Say something." I didn't know how to explain that the air itself was speaking. Low and bright. The exact note you hear when you press a glass to your ear and listen for the ocean that isn't there. It thrummed behind my ribs. The same not sound I'd felt on the field. It wasn't outside. It was inside me, and it knew my name. The figure stepped closer. Not marching, not menacing, like a swimmer finding the shore after a long, cold distance. The light brightened, then softened as if learning the room's dimness and respecting it. The intercom crackled. "Shelter in place," the office said, voice tight. "This is not a drill. Not a drill. No kidding. Phones down," Mr. Klein added, just as 10 phones rose. He looked at me last like he knew where my hand would go. It had already closed over my camera. The figure stopped a few feet from the windows. The glass between us turned its light into a spiderweb of brightness. I could see more clearly now. Not an angel, not a machine. Not exactly human either. A person-shaped presence in a suit that looked woven from moonlight and piano wire. The wings weren't feathers. They were lattices, jointed and alive. Each segment feather-fine but precise as architecture. Where skin should be, there was a halo of cool transparency, like heat shimmer on summer asphalt. A face, though, clear as anything, young, not much older than me. Eyes like the part of the ocean that keeps its secrets. The mouth moved. I couldn't hear a sound with my ears, but the glass fogged in a small oval, the way it fogs when someone says your name close. "Elena." I flinched. Amanda flinched because I did. "What did it say?" she asked. "My name?" I said, and the word felt like a door clicking open. I hadn't realized how rare it was to hear my name and not want to hide. "Back," Mr. Klein insisted. "All of you." I should have obeyed. My whole life I had obeyed the safest voice in the room. But the safest voice didn't feel like safety anymore. It felt like a hallway that circled the same locked door forever. I stepped toward the window. Amanda didn't let go. "Absolutely not. I'll be right there," I told her, surprising both of us with how calm I sounded. Promise. Promises meant something to her. Her fingers eased. The handle stuck a little. The paint had sealed it. My hands were shaking. But then the latch lifted. I pushed the window open 2 inches, then 3. Cold, wet air poured in, and with it, that humming in my chest leapt to meet the world. Note-finding note. "Do not open that window," Mr. Klein said. But the sentence broke apart in the rush of wind. The figure angled their head, as if listening to a distant choir. For a second, I thought I caught a reflection of myself in those ocean eyes. Small, damp, the girl who ghosted the edges of every picture she took. Then the figure's lips shaped a second word. Consent? The sound wasn't a sound. The meaning just arrived. It was so simple, it stunned me. "Yes," I said. Everything shifted a degree toward possible. The figure touched the window edge with a lattice fingertip. There was no spark, no explosion. Only a small retuning, like a guitar string tightened until it was true. The cracked glass steadied. The rain around the frame slowed the way rain slows on film. "Who are you?" I asked. A long blink. Then Liz. It landed in me as both name and note. Liz, like light slipping through leaves. Why me? I asked, because no one had ever chosen me for anything that mattered. The answer came as an image. A field hushed by fog. A girl lifting a camera at the exact second the sky cracked. From above, from a height that made my stomach flip, I saw myself as a tiny bright hinge between silence and the thing that breaks it. The image held, then dissolved into a feeling. Attunement. The way some people hear a harmony a fraction before the rest of the choir finds it. I'm not special, I said. A reflex I didn't know I had until it spilled out. Liz's head tilted. The wings made a small sound, metal daydreaming. Not special, specific. A pause, then softer. If you want. Specific. The word settled on my shoulders like a jacket that finally fit. Behind me, Amanda whispered, Elena, this is insane. We have to wait for, I don't know, officials. Maybe she was right. Maybe there were rules for this. But rules had never met this kind of light. What do you need? I asked Liz. They glanced past me, into the room. Paints, faces, the worried crease between Mr. Klein's brows. And then up, beyond the roofline to where the clouds pooled like molten silver. A place with fewer eyes. Another pause. I carry something that belongs to you. Words can be keys, and that sentence unlocked everything. Hold my bag, I told Amanda. If I'm not back in 5 minutes, you're not going out there alone, she said, more steel than storm now. A beat, a choice. For the first time in forever, I didn't choose alone. Okay, I said. Come with me. Mr. Klein started to object. The intercom coughed more instructions, but the window was already open, and the only way out of the story was through it. We slipped into the courtyard, the air wet and electrified, the concrete shining with reflections of a sky that couldn't decide its color. Lai stepped back to make room, wings folding tighter like a book closed around a secret. Up close, I could see that the suit wasn't metal at all. It was woven of something that looked like light, taught itself to be strong. You're sure about this? Amanda said, voice low. No, I said honestly, but I want to be. That seemed to be enough for her. Liz turned toward the gap between buildings that led to the service alley where the dumpsters lived and the city forgot to look. We followed. My sneakers squeaked on puddles. Amanda's braid stuck to her shoulder. The rain patted the top of a trash can with steady, ridiculous cheer. A moth circled a flickering bulb. The world kept being the world even while it was changing. At the elbow of the alley, where the brick wall wore a tangle of ivy like an old scarf, Liz stopped and knelt. Not to us, but to the ground. Their hand curved over the wet concrete. The light in their palm brightened, and then thinned into a filament, tracing a small circle. When the circle closed, the concrete within it sighed and softened like surface tension giving way. From within, Liz lifted a tiny object no bigger than the nail of my thumb. A feather, not like the one in my room. Not quite. This was simpler. Duller. As if the first had used up its glamour crossing the threshold into my life, and this one was the quiet version of the same truth. Yours. Lice said. I didn't know why I reached out. I didn't know why my hand steadied. I only knew that when the feather touched my skin, warmth moved up my fingers and into my wrist, like sunrise traveling. Images again. Faster now. Less blinding. A hallway of years. Me at 12. Choosing not to sing because the solo would mean standing alone on a stage. Me at 14. Erasing my name from a contest form after someone louder laughed at the idea of shy Elena competing. Me at 16. Taking pictures of the awards ceremony from the bleachers and telling myself I liked the distance. The images didn't judge. They just laid themselves down like puzzle pieces. I saw how they connected. I saw the shape they made. Why does it belong to me? I asked. Because you gave it away. No accusation, just fact. You needed to be safe, so you set some parts aside. I kept this one until you asked for it back. My throat burned. Rain found my lashes and made a spectacle of it. Amanda took a half step closer as if to shield me from a feeling. Elena, I'm okay, I said, and it was almost true. I closed my fingers around the small, unshowy feather and felt something in my chest loosen. Old wire snipped. The knot sound in my ribs tuned itself to a clearer pitch. The alley sharpened. The moth's wings were tiny silver fans. The rain wasn't a blur anymore. It was 100 separate threads stitching the air together. Is that all? I asked, and Lisa's mouth shaped an almost smile. For now. The wings unfolded a fraction, brightness folding with them. But there is one more thing. A pause that tasted like hesitation. Another presence noticed when I landed. It is curious and less kind. If it arrives, I will not lead it to your door. You can choose to go back inside and forget me. I will make that easy. Forget. The word hit me like cold. I looked at Amanda, at the paint under her thumbnail, at the way she stood between me and everything else as if that were obvious. I looked at Lise, rain outlining the scaffolding, of light and logic that made them possible. I had been so good at letting the world happen without me that I'd started to believe I was a side effect instead of a person. I don't want easy, I said, before I could talk myself into smaller words. I want true. Amanda exhaled a laugh that was almost a sob. Okay, Carter. That's our line. Liz bowed their head. Not ceremonial. Grateful. Then keep that. The wings lifted. A slow unfurl. Whatever comes next, keep that sentence. It will be heavier to carry than you think. A new vibration threaded the rain. The kind that makes birds go silent. The alley light flickered hard, twice and steadied, above the roofs. The sky's gray deepened to something with edges. Amanda's hand found mine. Is that the less kind thing? I think so, I said. The feather in my palm warmed, not warning but welcome, as if reminding me that some light stays. I slipped it into my pocket. I lifted my chin. The girl who loved silence had made a different sound, and now the world was answering. Okay. I told the sky, the rain, the friend at my side, and the impossible visitor who had asked my consent before asking my courage. Let's find out who I am when I don't hide. Somewhere beyond the cloud bank, something brightened, like a blade tilted to catch light. The hum rose. Not inside me, all around. And the next beat arrived. The hum thickened until the alley seemed to vibrate with it. Rain jittered midair, suspended as if sound had turned gravity optional. Lies shifted, wings expanding just enough to shield us from whatever might arrive bursting through the clouds next. Amanda squeezed my hand so hard I thought bones might fuse. Okay, she whispered, voice wobbling between fear and awe. Just tell me we're not about to meet some alien horror movie monster and I'll be chill. Almost laughed. Almost. Liz angled their head, listening to the humming sky. Not monster. A brief pause. Not friend. Well, that's comforting, Amanda muttered. Above us, a slice of silver tore through the clouds, like a blade cutting open a curtain. Something descended fast, glowing harsh and sharp compared to Lisa's soft radiance. The air snapped colder. Liz stepped in front of us instinctively. Protective. Precise. What is that? I asked. Chorus. The word struck like a dropped stone. They do not ask. They take, they do not hear. They silence. That last word sank claws deep. Silence. I repeated, realizing the irony. That's supposed to be safe. Liz's ocean eyes flicked toward me with something like sadness. Silence can be mercy. Or prison. Before I could ask what that meant, a new figure touched down at the far end of the alley. Fast, abrupt, wings tucked like razors. Their suit wasn't luminous like Liz's. It looked armored in darkness, edges rimmed with violent light. Amanda whispered. It looks like an evil version of them. Yeah, exactly that. The new figure's voice arrived not through ears, but through the space behind thoughts, cold and metallic. Yield the lost piece. It is property of chorus. Lys didn't move. Not property. Person. The chorus figure took a single step forward, the puddles beneath their boots freezing solid. My pulse thrashed. Amanda's nails dug crescents into my skin. The attuned is not ready. Lys said, speaking of me like I was both fragile and fierce. Then she will be made ready, the chorus figure replied. They extended a hand, palm forward, like a command. Something shoved inside my mind, hard, like a door trying to burst off its hinges. I stumbled back with a choked gasp. The alley warped, brick walls bending, rain turning to lines of light. My thoughts fluttered like papers in a storm. Elena! Amanda grabbed my shoulders, grounding me. Hey, look at me. Right here. Stay with me. Her face was a lifeline. I clung to it. Lys shoved forward, wings flaring wide, cutting the mental pressure like scissors through thread. The chorus figure skidded 2 steps back as if struck. My vision steadied. My lungs dragged in a breath they'd been denied. What was that? I managed. Chorus corrects anomalies, Lys replied. They believe your awakening is a systemic mistake. I'd been called a mistake by kids in hallways, by teachers who didn't notice I existed, by my own brain on bad days. But hearing it from something cosmic? No, absolutely not. The chorus figure's voice scraped again. The attuned must return. The gift must be erased. Erase? Amanda snapped, stepping in front of me like a small warrior. Yeah, that's gonna be a no. Her bravery startled me. Not because she wasn't brave. She always had been. But because she was brave for me. Lys moved between us and chorus entirely now, wings creating a shield of folded silver geometry. She chooses, not you. Choice is chaos, chorus spat. Order demands obedience. I took a shaky step forward. What if I don't want order? The humming grew louder, but this time from me. My pocket warmed. The tiny feather, the one Lys had said belonged to me. The chorus figure's head tilted. The fragment has fused. She is already infected with divergence. Infected. Divergence. Like individuality was a disease, something hot surged under my skin. Not fear. Anger. The kind that comes from finally noticing the bars of a cage you've lived inside too long. You don't get to decide who I am, I said, voice trembling but unbroken. Lys glanced over their shoulder. Pride flickered there. Truth spoken. Distance shrinking between silence and sound. Amanda whispered, That sounded poetic and terrifying. The chorus figure raised both hands. A crackle of dark light twisted out. A wave rolling toward us like a silent scream. Lys acted faster. They slammed their wing down in front of us. The impact rang like struck crystal. The alley flashed white. And the wave dissolved into mist that glittered then vanished. But the strike forced Lys to one knee. Lys! I cried, dropping beside them. Their suit flickered as if glitching. Lys looked up at me, breath uneven. I will hold. But the moment now chooses you. I froze. The idea that I might have to do something more than stand behind the brave people terrified me. What do I do? I asked. Lys lifted their hand, placing mine over the pocket where the feather rested. The warmth surged again, filling my chest like dawn pushing out night. Remember who you wanted to be before silence taught you smallness. My throat tightened. Tears blurred everything. Amanda kneeled too, one hand on my back. You've got this, she said. Absolute faith, zero hesitation. The chorus figure prepared another wave. The hum behind my ribs throbbed like a drum-finding tempo. I stood, rain calmed, drops falling slow as snow. The air curved around my pulse. The alley sharpened until every breath felt like a choice. The chorus figure spoke. Yield. No, I said. The feather in my pocket flared. Not light, not heat, self. A sound slipped from me, soft at first, then strong. A note, one single clear note. Honest, unafraid, cutting through the alley like sunrise through a crack in a wall. The chorus figure recoiled as if burned, the darkness around their suit splintered, dimming. Liz rose, their wings fanning beside me. A harmony to my note. Amanda laughed out loud, stunned. "Elena, you're singing." "I think so," I said, shocked by my own voice. The note faded. Rain resumed its fall. The chorus figure staggered back. Unacceptable, unstable. Their voice fractured. "More interference is coming. We will return. The attuned will be assimilated." They shot upward, slicing through the clouds, leaving the hum collapsing into silence, like a wave retreating from shore. The alley fell still. My heart thundered. My knees threatened mutiny. Amanda grabbed me before I crumpled. "Are you okay?" she asked. "No," I whispered, "but I'm not hiding." Liz placed a steadying hand over mine. "The note you released, the world will hear it. Chorus will not stop, but you are no longer alone." Thunder rolled in the distance. Not storm thunder, the kind that means something is coming. "Why me?" I asked, voice cracking on the question. Liz looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Because you listened. Because you said yes. Because every great echo begins as one brave sound." Rain dripped from the edge of the roof. Amanda's fingers remained laced with mine. Lyce's wings folded soft and strong behind us. The hum inside me hadn't disappeared. It had only just begun. The rain finally eased, thinning into a silver mist that made the whole alley look like a memory. My body buzzed with leftover adrenaline, but beneath that, something calmer, a strange clarity humming just behind my heartbeat. Liz stood fully now, wings folding in a slow, relieved sweep. Even hurt, they radiated a kind of quiet certainty. Amanda brushed wet hair from her face. "Okay." She pointed between Liz and the sky where the chorus figure had vanished. "What just happened is officially above my emotional pay grade." I almost laughed again. But my voice came out small. "I made a sound." Amanda snorted. "A sound?" "Elena, you dropped a cosmic beat that literally punted space robot jerk into the sky." Heat rushed to my cheeks. Not embarrassment. More like disbelief bubbling up. Liz studied me with a thoughtful tilt of their head. "The note is a beginning. It returns to you because you released it. But beginnings wake attention. Chorus is not the only listening." "That didn't sound reassuring. What does that mean?" I asked. Before Liz could answer, the school bell rang in the distance, its ordinary tone weirdly haunting after everything. Students poured into hallways. Doors thudded open. Voices rose. The normal world was rushing back in like a tide. And I realized something terrifying. We couldn't stay here. Teachers would come. Cameras might catch weird glimpses. Someone would call the police or the news. The chorus figure said more interference was coming. "We need to go," I said. Amanda nodded instantly. "Ride or die in a hoodie." Liz lifted their face to the sky once more, searching every ripple of gray cloud. "A shift has begun. You will feel pulled. Do not walk alone when the pull comes." "The pull," I said. "The call of your note." Their voice gentled. "It wants to be whole." My mind scrambled to understand. "So other pieces of me. You're saying I gave away more than one?" Lyce didn't answer with words. They tapped 2 fingers to my sternum, lightly. And I saw a flash, me at 8 years old, leaping from a dock into lake water, fearless and laughing because summer felt infinite. Then, cut to 14, watching a group of kids dive at that same lake's edge, while I sat on the grass, pretending not to want to join. The laughter belonged to a version of me I had paused somewhere back in time. The flash faded. My chest ached. "I want all of them back," I whispered, surprising myself with how fiercely I meant it. You will get them, Liz said, if you keep choosing sound over silence. People always made bravery sound like a personality trait, like something you either had or didn't. But what if bravery was just choosing noise even when quiet felt safer? Amanda looped her arm through mine, anchoring me again. So what's the game plan? I considered it. We tell no one except who we absolutely trust. Amanda raised her free hand. That's one person, me. You get one. And you, I said before my brain could second-guess it. Her smile was soft and startled and proud all at once. What about your dad? She asked. He should know. Something. My chest pinched. Dad meant well. It's just that grief had a way of turning him into a shadow of himself. After Mom passed, he lost his music, his laughter, his brightness, and I think a part of me learned to dim too, so he wouldn't feel so alone in the dark. I don't want to scare him, I said quietly. Liz nodded like they understood loss in a language deeper than words. You decide timing, but truth seeks breath eventually. We started walking back toward the school building. Lice moved like a lighthouse, guiding but unseen by most storms. When a teacher stepped outside, Liz shimmered into an outline so faint you'd miss it unless you were looking with your heart instead of your eyes. We slipped into the hallway. Everything looked painfully normal. Lockers slamming, shoes squeaking. Someone laughing too loud at a joke I didn't catch. The musty scent of old books mixed with cafeteria pizza. It hit me all at once. Nothing had changed. Yet, everything had changed. Amanda nudged me. Hey, what's going on in that head? That note, I said slowly. I didn't think I was capable of anything like that. She bumped her shoulder into mine. You underestimate you daily. I've noticed. My throat tightened again. Les drifted near the ceiling lights like a ghost of sunlight. You carry resonance. That is more powerful than you know. But power ungrounded can fracture. They looked at Amanda. Stay close. She steadies. Amanda blinked. Did an alien angel just call me grounding energy? I smiled. Apparently. She puffed up dramatically. I'll put it on my resume. We reached my locker. The metal door looked dull under the fluorescent lights, but the hum in my chest pulsed once, like a reminder. This isn't over, I said. Amanda looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as a ghost, but as someone stepping into their outline. Nope, this is the beginning of the part where you become someone you're proud of. Wanted to believe her. Liz hovered close. There will be nights when fear drags, when silence tempts, when you wonder if the note was just luck. Those are the moments chorus preys on. What do I do then? I asked. Their eyes warmed like dusk settling on calm waves. Call for me. I will hear. So will others who remember what you forgot. Others, plural. The pull, I whispered. Amanda didn't ask. She just squeezed my hand again and nodded like she'd already accepted the invitation to the universe's worst-best field trip. The intercom crackled overhead. Students to your next period, please. Normal life insisted on continuing. But I didn't feel small anymore. Liz whispered one last thought before fading into a shimmer the hallway lights couldn't decode. Sound will find its echo, and your echo is closer than you think. I swallowed hard, feeling that truth settle into the space where fear used to live. For the first time in my quiet life, I felt loud on the inside. And it didn't scare me. It thrilled me. The rest of the school day blurred like a movie montage. Teachers talking, pencils scratching, lockers slamming. But none of it landed. My mind kept flickering between the feather in my pocket and the sky cracking open. Amanda stuck with me class to class. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Her presence was like gravity, quiet, constant, keeping me from floating off into terror or awe. In English, I stared out the window and tried to look normal, while my pulse kept humming, like a string pulled just tight enough to vibrate. I waited for the chorus figure to return. for Les to flicker back into view, for anything. But the world was maddeningly ordinary. Dad picked me up after school. He noticed me staring too hard at nothing and asked, "Rough day?" I almost said it. "Dad." I saw something from the sky and it said my name. But then I remembered the slump of his shoulders every evening, the way he carried loss like a second skin. He didn't need cosmic anxiety dumped on top of regular life. So I offered him a small, practiced smile. "Just tired." He nodded, accepting, but his eyes lingered on me longer than usual, as if he sensed a frequency changing. At home, I showered. "Ate dinner." Did homework. All the scenes of a normal life, performed with hands that still trembled slightly. But when I finally lay in bed, staring up at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to my ceiling years ago, the note inside me stirred again. The feather began to warm against my ribs. The pull. I sat up slowly. "Les?" I whispered. The room stayed quiet. I slid out of bed and crossed to my window. Outside, the night was soft and blue. A breeze combed through the cedar trees behind the house. Streetlights carved gold pathways down the asphalt. Nothing supernatural happening. But the pull kept growing, gentle but insistent. It wasn't dragging me. It was inviting me. I opened the window. The night air hit my face and filled my lungs with the kind of courage that only exists after the day has exhausted every doubt. My phone buzzed. A message from Amanda. "Are you feeling that?" My heart jumped. Before I could reply, another message appeared. "Meet me outside." I grabbed my shoes, my jacket, and my camera, because if the universe was going to keep getting weird, I wanted evidence, and slipped downstairs. Dad's TV murmured behind his closed door. The house lights hummed. Everything felt sharper, like life had turned the saturation up a click. Outside, Amanda was already waiting on the sidewalk, hands stuffed in her hoodie pockets. "You felt it too?" I asked. She nodded wide-eyed. "Like a magnet in my bones. That's exactly it." We looked down the street and saw the glow, barely there. Like moonlight had decided to gather into a soft, pulsing ball at the corner where the sidewalk meets the park. Not bright enough to shout, just bright enough to be noticed by anyone who knows what noticing feels like. Liz's voice brushed my thoughts, gentle and close. "Follow if you want. You are safe with her," I whispered. "Liz?" Silence, but a silence that felt like someone listening. Amanda nudged me. "We're going, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, we're going." We walked toward the glow. With each step, the pull aligned with my heartbeat. Like the world was tuning itself to me, or me to it. When we reached the park, the glow floated forward, leading us down a path lit only by the moon and a single flickering lamp. Crickets chirped. A dog barked somewhere. Everything so mundane it made the magic feel even more impossible. The glow drifted to a stop beside a bench near the duck pond. The water reflected the streetlights, making the surface look like stars had fallen and decided to float. "What now?" Amanda whispered. The glow thinned, like a curtain parting, and a shape began to form inside it. Tiny at first, then taller, then unmistakably humanoid. I held my breath. When the light fully dissolved, a person stood there. Not Liz. Not a winged being of silver and circuitry. A girl. My age, my height. Short, sandy blonde hair and a jean jacket with patches stitched all over it. Band names. Cartoons, planets. Her eyes glimmered like sunshine on lake water. She blinked at us, confused. Hi?" she said, voice trembling with the exact amount of fear and wonder I felt. I don't know why I'm here. I felt this strong pull and then..." She looked down at her palm. In her hand was a feather, like mine, except hers glowed faint gold. Amanda's mouth fell open. "No way!" My pulse kicked, fast, radiant, right in tune with hers. The new girl took a breath. Do you know what's happening to me? I stepped closer, my own feather thrumming in my pocket like it was trying to reach hers. I think, I said carefully, it might not be happening just to you. Her eyes locked with mine. Something clicked in the air. Recognition without history. Connection without introduction. The glow returned around us. Brighter this time. Not less. Someone else. A voice, different from before, rose in my chest, and the air itself seemed to lean in to hear. One note has begun. Another arrives. The harmony is waking. Amanda whispered, "Oh, this is getting so much bigger." Yeah, bigger than the sky. Bigger than the silence I used to hide in. And the night had one more surprise for us. Behind the girl, across the pond, the water rippled. Someone else was emerging, not chorus and not human. The feathers were only the beginning. The universe had started singing back. The sky opened like a door that had always been there, just waiting for someone brave enough to knock. A column of silver light descended, rippling like a waterfall, turned upward. Trees bowed as if wind had taken orders. The feather in my pocket vibrated like a tuning fork struck by fate. Rowan clutched her glowing feather with both hands. Is this teleportation? Because I didn't mentally prepare for teleportation. Mira stepped forward, calm as moonlight. Transition, she corrected. We travel through resonance, not distance. Much better, Rowan said. I'm totally prepared for whatever that means. Amanda gave her an encouraging pat. We're all guessing the button layout on this spaceship. Liz faced us, wings stretching high enough to brush the sky's shimmer. When you step in, remember, sound is memory. Memory is direction. Direction is destiny. That would be poetic if it wasn't also terrifying. Mira extended her hand to me again. Rowan linked with Amanda. 4 hands, 1 chain. Lice placed their palm against the column of light, and the world changed. We rose, not like flying, but like being invited upward. Gravity loosened its grip. The ground drifted away as if politely giving us space. My stomach should have flipped. My brain should have screamed. But instead, it felt like breathing for the first time. Below us, the park shrank. The pond turned to a silver coin. Rooftops blurred into patterns. Clouds parted, edges glowing brighter where we touched them. Rowan laughed, surprised and free. This is insane. Amanda's eyes sparkled, fear mixing with joy. We're actually doing this. We're really. Look, Mira whispered. The sky wasn't sky anymore. It was music, not sound, but visible waves. Currents of color and motion pulsed through the air around us. Violet spirals, turquoise ripples, golden circles expanding like soft bells. Each pulse resonated in my chest. This, Lise said, is the ether, where every note ever sung is held, where silence becomes possibility. The ether was endless, a cathedral of movement, a cosmic river without water or banks. Stars weren't stars. They were tones made visible, shimmering on frequencies you could almost hum along to if you let yourself believe enough. Rowan stared, open-mouthed. We're inside. A song? Yes, Mira said gently. And the song has been waiting for you. I felt the truth settle deep, an anchor and a wingspan at once. Liz guided us toward a swirling path of light that curved through the ether like a ribbon, shaken out in slow motion. It pulsed with faint silver. My notes echo, glowing in recognition. Amanda squeezed my wrist. Looks like it knows you. The path widened into a platform, a floating circle made of interlocking symbols I couldn't read but somehow understood. They vibrated softly under our feet. Liz stepped into the center. Mira took one side, Rowan and Amanda the other. I remained closest to Liz. my pulse syncing with the platform's rhythm. "Elena," Liz said. "Your resonance awakened others. More will feel the pull. But to guide them, you must remember the voice you quieted, the sound you abandoned, the dream you buried." The ether dimmed slightly, like holding its breath. Amanda whispered, "What dream?" I swallowed. Old fear tightened inside me, a small voice begging to shrink back into the walls. "I used to sing," I said, "before Mom got sick." Memories rose like bubbles, a backyard concert with fireflies for an audience, standing on a cafeteria stage, feeling the world stop to listen. Mom clapping loudest, always. The last time, hospital rooms, whispered promises to stay strong, a song I almost sang, but didn't, a note stuck behind tears. "I quit," I said. "I told myself I wasn't good enough. And eventually, I believed it." Mira stepped forward, eyes soft. "Silence becomes armor, but armor can also become a cage." Liz extended their hand. "Sing if you want to break it." The word sing hit harder than any ultimatum. Rowan frowned. "No pressure, but are we sure the universe won't explode if she hits a wrong note?" Amanda nudged her. "Pretty sure the only wrong note is the one you never try." Her faith steadied me like a hand on the back of a chair. I closed my eyes. The ether fell quiet, waiting. A single memory rose, Mom brushing my hair behind my ear before a school recital. "Be loud, baby," she whispered. "The stars are listening." The lump in my throat dissolved. The fear cracked. Breath formed, and I sang one note. Soft at first, trembling, then growing steady, warm, alive. The ether reacted instantly. Light spiraled upward, silver and gold, weaving around me like a living ribbon. Symbols on the platform ignited, each one a spark of recognition. Mira gasped. Rowan shielded her eyes. Amanda let tears slip down unnoticed. Lee stood taller, wings radiant. "Resonance returns. The chord begins." The light coiled around my shoulders, then shot upward into the ether like a flare fired into infinity. A responding echo answered. Deep and distant. Not chorus. Something older, wiser. Awakening because of us. Amanda stepped closer, breath fogging subtly in the shimmering air. "That was beautiful." Rowan nodded, voice tiny. "Superpower unlocked." Mira knelt, reverent. The note is not alone anymore. Liz listened to the ether, every wing feather attuned. We have made the first harmony, but chorus hears it too, and what wakes will not be ignored. Lights flickered in the distance, sharp red slashes cutting through the beautiful currents. Amanda's hand found mine again. "What is that?" Liz's wings closed protectively around us. Chorus prepares its answer. The ether shuddered, as if under a sudden weight. My voice had reached farther than any of us expected, and something, or someone, was singing back. The red slashes carved through the ether like angry punctuation. Every current of color flinched. The platform's symbols dimmed, as if bracing for an argument with a god that didn't like being contradicted. Liz stepped closer, wings folding around us with deliberate care. "Do not mirror their rhythm," they said. "Chorus feeds on reflex. We answer with choice." "What are they doing?" Amanda asked, grip tightening on my hand. "Tuning the field against you," Liz replied. "Turning resonance into restraint." Rowan swallowed. "Awesome. So the universe's HOA just told us our music is too loud." Mira's gaze lifted, calm but fierce. "Then we sing wide enough to make their walls into doors," The red slashes multiplied, stitching themselves into a net far above us, each strand humming with a sterile, clinical pitch that made my molars ache. The ether's living colors recoiled, but they didn't vanish. They huddled like flocks in sudden wind. A second echo, deeper than before, rolled from a distance that felt more like time than space. It wasn't a single voice. It was many, layered into something that held its power the way the ocean holds its storms, without apology. Amanda leaned toward me. That feels kind. It feels like home. I whispered before I knew why. Red strands cinched tighter. The platform shivered. Rowan flinched. Talk to me like I'm 5. Do we run, hide, or freestyle? Neither, Mira said. We remember. She turned to me, eyes bright with a tenderness that didn't coddle. You started the note. Let the rest of us name it. Liz extended a hand, palm up. A tune, Elena. We will follow. Breath, then choice. I set my feet, squared my shoulders, and lifted my chin. Not because I felt brave, but because I wanted to be. The feather in my pocket warmed, the warmth climbing my ribs like morning light. Okay, I said. Together. Rowan stepped to my right, Amanda to my left, Mira opposite Liz, so we formed a rough circle. The platform's symbols brightened. Beneath each of us, 4 points on a compass I didn't know I'd needed. On you, Amanda murmured. I let my eyes close and found the first note the way you find a friend in a crowd. By trusting, you'll recognize them when you hear them. The sound rose, thin with nerves, then round with memory. It wasn't pretty for the sake of pretty. It was honest. Mira came in beneath me, low and clear, a riverbed tone that made everything feel steadier. Rowan followed, a bright gold thread that wobbled, then found its true line, and held. Amanda didn't sing, not exactly. She breathed, long and even, and somehow that breath counted. It thickened the air with belonging, unified the chord like mortar between stones. Les did not add a separate line. They tuned us, adjusting a shade here, a half-breath there, until the 4 sounds behaved like one, and that one felt like a door set slightly ajar. The net of red flared, rejecting, pressing down. I felt the old instinct kick, shrink, quiet, apologize for taking up sonic space. Liz's voice touched the back of my thoughts. Keep the sentence. I locked onto it. I don't want easy. I want true. The chord steadied. The ether shifted. From recoiling to listening, the deep echo answered again, nearer. Words arrived not as language but as shape. A vast curve like an arm offered for balance. A lantern set on a long road. The scent of cedar after rain, Rowan whispered. That feels like yes. The red net began to tilt, aiming to throw our note off axis. Mira raised her hand and, without breaking her line, traced a figure in the air. A spiral that didn't spin inward but unfolded outward. The pressure slid past, like a wave that remembered it could be water instead of wall. What was that? Amanda asked, awed. A name, Mira said, still singing. Of the first place, I admitted I was lonely. Rowan blinked hard. We can do that? Our memories are moves. Resonance is memory, I said, the earlier lesson clicking deeper. And memory is direction. Amanda smiled through her tears. And direction is destiny. Yeah, I was listening. The red lines thickened, braided by a pinched, narrow pitch. My head throbbed. This wasn't random force. It was belief played like an instrument. Order demands obedience. A chorus of chorus voices intoned, emotionless and absolute. Harmony without variance, Peace without choice. I felt something sour twist under my sternum. That used to be a fantasy I envied. A map already drawn, no decisions to botch. But it smelled like a locked room. Peace without choice is silence with good PR, Amanda muttered. Rowan snorted mid-harmony. Put that on a T-shirt! My voice almost cracked. Mira's low line nudged me back onto pitch. Liss's presence steadied the floor inside me. Then the far echo finally became a presence. It didn't arrive like chorus had in slicing lines. It emerged like a horizon, gradual, inevitable, filling the edges of everything until it was simply there. A figure moved from the deep. No wings, no armor. Robes woven of threaded constellations. Hair like dusk. Eyes that didn't pierce so much as receive. The air softened in deference. Even the red strands hesitated. When they spoke, it was the gentlest pressure. You called? My knees went loose. The note in my chest brightened in relief, as if a parent had walked into a nightmare and turned on a light. Liss dipped their head. No small gesture. Archivist. Mira bowed. Rowan squinted at me like, is that a title or a vibe? Amanda kept breathing. Steady, grounding, making room for awe without letting it tip into overwhelm. The archivist took in all of us, then focused on me with a kindness that made me want to hide and step forward at the same time. Attuned, Elena, your note woke the window. Your courage opened it. The chorus will break themselves trying to close it. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted, surprised to find that confession didn't taste like failure anymore. That has never stopped a true song, the archivist said, almost smiling. Red flared again, furious at being ignored. Return the fragments, seal the variants, restore the quiet. The archivist turned their head a fraction, listening into the net as if it were a child insisting on bedtime rules in the middle of a thunderstorm. You confuse quiet with safety, they said softly. You confuse sameness with peace. They lifted their hand. Threads of soft pale light rose from our platform and twined around our cord. I will not fight your cage. I will show its door. A shape kindled in the air above us. A sigil built from 4 strokes of light. I recognized them by Feelhira's outward spiral of loneliness named Rowan's small, bright tremor settling into steadiness. Amanda's long, anchoring breath. My first brave note. The sigil lowered to hover at the level of our throats, warm without heat. Breath wove through it, and came back changed, clearer, easier, carrying. A chord mark, Liss said, quiet wonder in their voice, shared resonance. What does it do? Rowan asked. Eyes huge. It remembers for you, the archivist said. When fear tries to make you smaller than your name, this will recall the size you chose. Together you carry what each alone might drop. Something unclenched in me I hadn't known I was holding since the day I quit singing. The world didn't feel safer. I felt more true inside it. The net contracted last effort, a red tide rushing to smother our light. The chord mark warmed against my throat. Our shared note didn't get louder. It got truer. The red strands struck and softened, losing their edge on contact as if they'd forgotten how to be rigid. Rowan whooped, still holding her line. Is that working? It's not breaking them, Amanda said, eyes wide. It's giving them another option. The red faded to a hesitant pink, then to a blank that wasn't absent so much as confusion. The archivist's eyes gentled. They will return. They always do. And you will answer, not to win, but to keep the door visible. Will we have help? I asked, the question that had lived in my bones since the moment the feather tapped my window. You already do, and more will hear. The archivist motioned toward the ether's pathways. Tiny lights were kindling far off like towns lighting at dusk. Your note woke echoes in places you cannot imagine. They are walking toward the sound. Mira stood taller, as if hearing her own name in that promise. Lyce's wings eased, but not with complacency. More like readiness. A tug brushed the center of my chest. Home, school, Dad's quiet chair, the art room with its bad donuts and good people. As if the ether itself was reminding me that songs live to be sung somewhere that needs them. The archivist saw the direction of my breath. Go back, Elena. Carry the cord to your ordinary places. Ordinary is where empires of silence build. Ordinary is where they fall. Chorus won't let us just live, Rowan said. They cannot stop you from choosing, only convince you not to. The archivist's gaze touched each of us in turn. Eat, sleep, laugh, make, sing. Hold each other's names when the night pretends it's forever. Amanda let out a breath that was almost a laugh. The cosmic plan is community, the only plan that ever worked. The archivist said, and for a heartbeat their smile looked exactly like my mother's in a sunlit kitchen. Then they were distant again. Felt, not seen. The platform brightened, preparing the way down. The ether's currents loosened around our ankles, like a river letting waders out to shore. The cord mark cooled to a quiet hum against our throats. I turned to Liz. Will you come with us? Until you don't need me, they said. And after, if you still want me. I turned to Mira. Will we see you again? Tonight if you need me, she said. Tomorrow if you don't. Both are closeness. Rowan bumped my shoulder, gold feather glinting. Apparently we're a band now. Amanda laced our fingers. Then let's go home and practice. We stepped to the edge of the platform. Below the city waited, messy, beautiful, full of small rooms where silence had been mistaken for safety for far too long. I breathed in, feeling the cord mark answer like a friend within reach. Okay, I said. To my friends, to the ether, to the girl I used to be, and the one I was learning to keep. Let's take the door with us. The ether released us like a held note finally allowed to resolve. We fell, not down, but toward, the kind of gravity you choose. The park rose to meet us. The pond was just a pond. The streetlights hummed their low electric hymn. Somewhere a dog barked at nothing and everything. But inside our throats, the cord stayed, and far above, in the place where sound was made, 1,000 small lights continued moving closer. They were not coming to save us. They were coming because we had made a sound that told them they could save themselves, together. The night pressed close, listening for what we'd do next. I didn't have an answer yet. I had a beginning, and for the first time, it was enough. The ether let us go gently. We landed in the park with soft feet, as though the night didn't want to break the moment. Streetlights glowed their usual sleepy gold. Cars whispered by in the distance. The pond rippled like it had no idea a girl made of light had stepped out of it an hour ago. Everything was ordinary, except us. Amanda released a breath she'd been holding. We're back? Rowan held her glowing feather up to her face. But not the same. Mira stood by the water's edge, eyes soft. The world looks small when seen from outside, but do not underestimate how loud a heart can be from within it. Liz landed lightly beside me, wings folding with a sound like starlight settling into place. Chorus retreats for now, but a retreat is only a pause. They will test your quiet again. That's fine, Amanda said. Steady. She's not quiet anymore. The cord mark at my throat warmed, like it agreed. We walked together toward the park entrance, 4 teenagers and 1 cosmic being trying to look casual. Mira and Rowan's steps were a little unsure, like they were adjusting to gravity again. Mine felt like I was walking inside a song that hadn't fully ended. You'll come to school tomorrow, right? I asked Rowan. I'll try, she said. If I can figure out how to explain being late to geometry because of a star choir. Amanda grinned. Tell them it was choir practice. Technically true. Rowan laughed, the kind that released tension from her shoulders. Mira stopped walking. She looked up, like she was reading messages written in the stars. I should go. There are others listening tonight. My stomach pinched. Will you be safe? Mira smiled. There is danger in every silence, but also refuge. I know how to find the doors now. Before we could ask anything else, she stepped backward and dissolved into a ripple of water that returned quietly to the pond. Rowan stared. She just evaporated friendship style. Amanda gave her a side hug. Welcome to your new normal. Liz drifted close to me. You did well. I blinked up at them. I was terrified. Bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is the decision that something else matters more. I nodded slowly. Like being heard. Exactly. Dad's porch light came into view. A warm, familiar star. My chest fluttered with nerves. I have to tell him soon. Everything. Or he'll feel me slipping away and think it's his fault. Liz rested a hand near my shoulder, not quite touching, but close enough for comfort. Truth is a gift given in small moments. Start with one. Let trust do the stitching. Rowan squeezed my hand before splitting off to her street. Don't lose sight of the awesome. Fear is a fog machine. It makes everything look bigger and darker than it is. Amanda hugged me, tight enough to promise she'd never let me shrink alone again. Tomorrow, bad donuts and good art, and maybe space again if the vibe demands it. I laughed into her shoulder. Deal! She jogged across the road, calling, Elena Carter, breaker of silence, loud enough to make me blush and grin at the same time. Finally, Liz and I stood alone at my gate. You are not finished, Liz said. Tonight was a beginning that will ripen. And when Chorus comes back? I asked. You won't face them alone. A pause. You never did. My throat tightened with something like gratitude, and something like fear of how much I already cared. You'll stay? I whispered. Until the quiet is a choice you no longer make from fear. Until you choose sound because it is yours. If you want me, I am here. I smiled, small but real. I want you here. Liz inclined their head, a silent promise wrapped in silver light. I walked up the porch steps. My hand paused above the front door handle. I'll see you soon? I asked over my shoulder. Liz shimmered, fading into the night, a constellation learning to walk the earth. Call me. Elena, with your voice, I will hear. They were gone, but not gone. Inside, Dad looked up from the TV as I stepped in. He saw the shift in me instantly, like parents do when they don't have the words yet, but the heart knows before the mouth catches up. You okay? He asked, soft. Careful. I swallowed, lifted my chin, and made the first small sound of truth. I have a lot to tell you, I said. He nodded, clearing space beside him. Then I have time to listen. I sat. The cord mark warmed, and something unfurled inside me. The version of myself that didn't hide. Maybe the universe would ask for more bravery. Tomorrow, maybe Chorus would try again. Maybe more feathers would find more hands. But tonight I was home. I was heard. And between my ribs the note stayed. Bright as morning, soft as memory, loud enough for the stars. The silence wasn't gone. It just didn't own me anymore.